All right, now that we know how to multiply fractions, today what we want to learn how to do is multiply mixed numerals. And I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you are thinking, I know, multiply the whole numbers and then multiply the fractions. Nope, it doesn't work like that. And you go, but that's what I do in addition to mixed numerals. I add the whole numbers, I add the fractions. So why don't I do that in multiplication? And I say because, excuse me, because multiplication is not addition. The real reason is because of some of the properties of multiplication, like the commutative and distributive and associative properties of multiplication are different and allow you to do different things than the commutative and associative property of addition do. But anyway, the truth is you can't multiply mixed numerals. And you say, cool, let's go, that's it, we're over with. Why'd you make this video? Well, you can multiply, but you can't multiply mixed numerals. And I go, what are you talking about? Well, you can't multiply mixed numerals, like I can't multiply 2 1/3 times 3 3/4. All right? But I can multiply fractions. And you say, but Mr. Adu, these are mixed numerals, not fractions. That's right. But what can I do to a mixed numeral? I can make it into a fraction. What kind of fraction does a mixed numeral become? It becomes an improper fraction. Remember Mabo? Dun, 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 dun. No, not Mabo. Mabo. Remember, you multiply, add, and bring over. You multiply 3 times 2 equals 6. 6 plus 1 equals 7, and bring over the 3. So 2 1/3 is actually 7/3. And then 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. And you get 15 over 4. Now I don't have mixed numerals anymore. Now I have fractions. So what do we do with fractions? We multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. But wait. Simplify before you multiply will make it easier to multiply, and it'll make it easier to simplify at the end. So can I simplify any top with any bottom? I can. 3 and 15. What goes into both 3 and 15? 3 does. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 15 5 times. So now I multiply numerator times numerator. 7 times 5 is 35. And I multiply denominator times denominator. 1 times 4 is 4. And that's my answer. Except it's not my answer. And you go, what do you mean it's my answer or it's not my answer? I mean, that's my answer, but it's wrong. What's wrong with 35/4? It's improper. So I got to make it proper. So I have to divide 4 into 35, goes 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32, remainder 3, and write my remainder as a fraction, and my answer becomes 8 3/4. And you say, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that I got to make mixed numerals into improper fractions, but then I got to turn around and make the improper fraction back to a mixed numeral? And I say, that's exactly what I mean to tell you, because that's exactly what you have to do. To work the problem out, I can't work with mixed numerals, I have to make them improper. But to get your answer, you can't give me an improper answer, you have to make it proper again. So that's how you multiply mixed numerals. You make the mixed numeral into an improper fraction, and then after you multiply, you make your improper fraction back into a mixed numeral. By the way, you also might have something like this. You might have something like 2 3/5 times the whole number 8. And you go, well, how would you multiply a mixed numeral times a whole number? And the answer is, you wouldn't. You would only multiply a fraction times a fraction, or a whole number times a whole number. You can't change a mixed numeral into a whole number, but you can change a mixed numeral into a fraction. And you can also change a whole number into a fraction. So what I do first here is Mabo. Dun, 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 dun. Nope. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 3 is 13/5. And you go, well, how do I make 8 into a fraction? And someone might say, I know, 8 over 8. No, 8 over 8 doesn't equal 8. 8 over 8 equals 1 because 8 divided by 8 is 1. But the question is, 8 divided by what would equal 8? And the answer is 8 divided by 1. So you would put 8 over 1. Whenever you want to write a whole number as a fraction, you put it over 1. Now, can I simplify before I multiply? No, I cannot. So I multiply 13 times 8. 8 times 3 is 24, carry you 2. 8 times 1 is 8 and 2 is 10. That's 104. And I multiply 5 times 1 is 5. And that's my answer, except it's wrong. What's wrong with 104 fifths? It's improper. How do I make it proper? I divide 5 into 104. And 5 goes into 10 2 times. 5 is 10, remainder 0. 5 goes into 4, 0 times 5 is 0, remainder 4. And your answer comes out to be 20 and 4 fifths. By the way, even though I try to simplify before I multiply, I should always make sure it's simplified after I multiply. Because what if I skip something that I could have simplified? Then I have to make sure I change it for that reason. So again, when I want to multiply mixed numerals, I don't want to multiply mixed numerals. I want to make them into fractions. And mixed numerals become improper fractions. So every time I go to multiply mixed numerals, the first thing I do is make the mixed numeral an improper fraction. The same thing with whole numbers. I make them into improper fractions by putting them over 1. And then I multiply like all fractions, multiplying numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Use the shortcut and simplify before you multiply, if you can, any top with any bottom. And then when you finish, make sure your answer is proper again. All right, so that is, excuse me, that is how you multiply mixed numerals and how to multiply mixed numerals times whole numbers. You will have a couple of IXL assignments on this. Again, I can't believe they would let you put an answer that's not simplified. But remember when we were adding, they marked it wrong if you simplified. So be careful about that. But when you take quizzes from me and when you take tests from me, all fractions must be simplified. All right, so good luck. And I think this is pretty easy if you know MABO. Dun, 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 dun. Multiply, add, and bring home.